Friends, so we are currently editing my second book, Dying with Regrets, and in this part of the journey or the book edit, we are talking about the part where I actually went all in on my dreams and quit my job. And with this part here, we're going to be talking specifically about fear. So let's get going, and this chapter is called Fear is a Choice. Fear, obviously everyone knows it as false evidence appearing real. Fear is one of the worst things in this world, and it's usually the thing that will suppress our success. But understand that fear is not real, because the only place fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. Fear is just a picture that we have all painted in our own minds, and it is usually worst case scenario, which subsequently causes us to fear things that do not currently and may never exist. Our brains have been around for millions of years, and the one job they have is to keep us alive. Fear starts in the amygdala region of the brain, and it activates the fight or flight response system by sending signals to release stress hormones that prepare your body to run away. This was vital for one's safety during the Stone Age, when our ancient ancestors were surrounded by the constant imminent threat of being attacked by a predator. Fear was essential for survival back then, and was a safety mechanism to ensure the tribe was always alert. However, we as humans have carried that same fear with us throughout time, and now fear controls the lives of many. Some say that humans are all born with only two innate fears, which are the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. However, the truth is that we as newborn babies were all absolutely fearless, and all of our fears are in fact learned behaviours. Think of a baby learning to walk. It falls down, and every time it does, it gets back up and tries again. Our confidence actually gets stripped back by society as we grow up. Conditioned fears are developed at a very young age, influenced by direct experience with our environment and culture. For instance, the fear of the dark, snakes or spiders. Our brains plan for the future based on previous events. So if something happened to us during our early childhood, we quite often take that fear through with us into our adult lives. Please let me be super clear when I say that danger, on the other hand, is very real, but it's fear which is a choice. At one point in time, there was a survey which revealed over 70% of the population had a fear of public speaking, and the fear was so intense that it ranked above the fear of death. It amazes me that some people would sooner die than choose to speak in public. Yes, it's uncomfortable, and yes, it takes some getting used to, but some would still rather leave this earth than speak out on it. Our ancestral brain seems to take us all the way back to those I am going to die moments when we didn't get 1,000 likes on our latest Instagram posts, for example. Being in this state of stress causes our body's natural defense system to trigger and release things like adrenaline and cortisol. This is definitely needed if there was an actual reason. However, the long-term activation of the stress response system, plus the overexposure to cortisol and other stress hormones, can disrupt your body's natural process, in return putting you at an increased risk of numerous health problems. So next time you notice fear creeping in, ask yourself the question, am I feeling this way due to proven facts or just my personal thoughts? To overcome fear, you must head towards it. It's the only way. That you need to do the things you fear until you no longer fear them, because doing this will build courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the ability to push yourself forward and live life on your terms despite your fear. The way to develop courage is to do the things you fear and get a record of successful results and experiences behind you. Voluntarily heading towards pain may seem quite daunting. However, taking small and frequent steps to expose yourself to fear and discomfort on a regular basis will help build the courage you need to withstand the pain you once thought you could not bear. Courage is what helps us push through fear and accomplish the task which we initially believed we were unable to accomplish. Courage is just like a muscle, and it is strengthened with use. The more we take ourselves outside of our comfort zones and do the things we fear, the more we will strengthen our courage muscles and then raise the threshold to the amount of pain we can then tolerate. Just understand that the fear never goes away, but your courage just gets stronger. So, start looking at fear as feedback and flip fear for fortitude, knowing that fear is fictional and courage is just fear in action. Right, my friends, going on to the next chapter now, which is called Going All In. Despite being absolutely petrified and not having a clue of how I was going to one day make my dream become my reality, my new friend gave me a 1 week notice to get back to him to confirm that I had stayed committed to myself and actually followed through with quitting my one and only day job of over a decade. When he told me this, my heart stopped as I realised this was not a joke. Instantly, all of those negative thoughts and limiting beliefs as to why I couldn't and shouldn't do this were multiplying within my mind. I was sat there completely frozen while staring into the camera of my laptop when he asked, "Are you committed?" Desperately trying not to overthink things, I didn't know what to say back to him because my head was screaming, "Say no!" However, my gut was positively pushing me to say yes. Never once has my intuition been wrong about someone, something, or a situation. So I had to let my gut be my guide, and I sheepishly replied with the word yes. He could sense the fear when I spoke, and then he told me that it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Again, he said, "So, are you committed?" Trusting those signals from my soul, I replied with yes, even though I still have many doubts and fears pushing me in the opposite direction. After we ended that Zoom call, I sat shivering with what felt like a million emotions running around my body. And the first thought that came to my mind was, what the fuck have I just done? I was absolutely petrified and ended up spending the next week avoiding him completely. I was terrified to tell anybody about what I was planning to do, so I kept it all to myself. However, the day before the deadline, I decided to break the news to my parents when I got home that Thursday evening and walked through the front door. I must have had fear written all over my face. This is because when I went into the living room and sat down, my mum, with her maternal instincts, instantly said to me, "What's happened?" She could tell something was wrong, and I said that I wanted to tell them both something. My mum was ready to listen, but Dad was more interested in watching his favourite team play football on the TV. In my mind, I was hoping and praying that my dad would pay attention to the big news I was about to announce, but he clearly wasn't interested. My mum told him to listen, so he half did. Then I nervously said, I'm going to go into work tomorrow and quit my job." But before I'd even thought about taking my next breath, my dad shot up from the sofa and shouted, "Well, stop fucking talking about it and just fucking do it." Wow, that hit me hard. I couldn't believe that my dad would say this to me, and I instantly felt like complete crap. I took off up to my bedroom and sat there as a 28-year-old man, bawling my eyes out. I honestly didn't believe that my dad, who is my best mate, would have said things like, I honestly believe that my dad, who is my best mate, would have said things like, "Come on, Ryan, you can do this," and then give me a massive cuddle and a pat on the back. All I received was what felt like verbal abuse and a big kick in the nuts. As I sat there sobbing, my mum came up and put her arm around me, was trying to convince me how Dad hadn't really meant to be so abrupt. Then Dad come up and said he was sorry, and I quickly went from pain to perspective. This is because I suddenly realised that my dad was actually right, and that what he'd just said was the best thing he or anyone else could have said to me in that specific moment. In life, there are what I call 3 types of ATs, and that's action thinkers, action talkers, and action takers. Since the year prior, when the COVID lockdown started, all I had been doing was talking a good game, and this was the reason why my dad wasn't interested. Because all he had heard was me going on and on about my plans for a complete year with absolutely no action steps taken. Words alone are absolutely fucking worthless, and you'll never think your way to success without following those thoughts up with the required steps in the direction of your desired destination. Look, my friends, thank you so much for being on this one again. If you want to get yourself on the wait list, visit dyingwithregrets.ryannurse.com, click the link in my bio or send me a DM. Speak soon, bye bye.